Welcome to everyone. In this week video you will learn how powerful and profitable the cycles are. You will also learn how to use them to trade the stock market to increase your profits. This week video will cover the SP500 for the week of July 15, 2024. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. The last update for the S&P 500 was on May 13th. At that time, I mentioned the S&P 500 is on its way to form the 40-week cycle peak. The confirmation of the 40-week cycle peak will be the same as explained in my May update. It will be when the S&P 500 will cross below the 20-week cycle trend line, also called VTL by Hearst. And the second confirmation will be when the SP 500 will cross below his 20-week cycle line. When the S&P 500 will cross below his cycle line, it will provide a potential downside target, certainly very close to his 40-week cycle line. On my May 13th update, I mentioned the possibility of the following options. Originally, the 40-week cycle low was expected to form around end of June. But apparently the last 20-week cycle run little longer than usually. In this case there is two options. The first one is the second 20-week cycle of this 40-week cycle will run shorter than the nominal model, which is between 17 and 19 weeks. To keep the 40 weeks average length conformably with the original nominal model, between 34 and 38 weeks. The second option is the second 20-week cycle will be the same length than the first one. Then in this case the 40-week cycle low will be expected on September. How we will solve this problem? We will fix this with the daily time frame cycles. But after saying all that, there is another option, the third option. 40-week cycle low already occurred in the third week of April this year. Why there is some confusion about the 40-week cycle low? This is due to the principle of variation. For more detail I recommend to watch my series of video, Secrets Behind the Cycles. If this option is the right one, what's changed in the overall picture? On the long term, the April low will be also the 18-month cycle. This will explain the bullishness of the market. This is my personally favorite option. What are the implications on the short-term trading? There is no implication. Since we know the April low is at least a 20-week cycle low, then, the next major low will be also at least a 20-week cycle. Knowing that we can focus on the shorter time frame. The success rate is 100%. The 20-week cycle. The last 20-week cycle was on the third week of April. The date for this 20-week cycle low is scheduled between August 12th and 26th. Like I mentioned above, no matter which option you choose, we know the next low will be at least a 20-week cycle. The success rate for the 20-week cycle is 100%. The 80 days cycle. As mentioned in the May 13th update, the April 19th low was the 80 days cycle low. The S&P 500 crossed above his cycle line on Friday, May 10th. This crossing gives us two very important information. The first one, this confirmed the April 19th low is at least an 80 days cycle low. The second, this crossing provide an upside potential target zone between 54.69 and 54.63. $258 and $254 or 4.87% of potential profits. The low was expected around June 26th, but occurred on July 1st, 5 days later. The next 80 days cycle is expected on the first week of September. The cycle trend is in up phase. The success rate is 100%. Meaning, trading each 80-day cycle signal, the targets was meet each and every time. What's next for this 80-day cycle? Let's see the roadmap. Just as reminder, the cycle line used on the roadmap is the 20-day cycle line. Last 80 days cycle low was on July 1st. The market rally and will form his 20-day cycle peak certainly on Friday, July 12th. We are here. Then the SP500 should start a correction to form a low on July 18th, finding support on his cycle line at the time of forming the 20-day cycle low. Then the SP500 will start a new rally on his way to form his 40-day cycle peak. After forming his 40 days peak, the SP500 will cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target for the 40 days cycle low on August 4th. After forming his 40 days low, the market will cross back above his cycle line, providing an upside target for the 80 days cycle peak. This peak may form on the left part of the cycle. After the 80 days cycle peak formation, the SP500 should cross back below his cycle line, providing a downside target for the next 80 days cycle low, forming a first low around the third week of August, then rally toward his cycle line, using it as resistance before heading down to September 8th to form the 80 days cycle low. The 40 days cycle. The last 40 days low formed on July 1st at 54.46. The next one is scheduled for August 4th, the yellow zone on the chart. The last time the S&P 500 crossed above his cycle line was on May 6th. At 5,116 and 51.68, providing a target zone between 53.83 and 52.79, a new all-time high. For a potential profits between 162 and 214 points. Between 3.18 and 4.16%. The target have been fulfilled on May 15th. The S&P 500 is now on his way to form his next 40 days cycle peak. When the 20 days cycle low will be confirmed, I will draw the 20 days cycle trend line. This will help us to identify the next 40 days cycle peak early. The success rate is 86%. The cycle trend is up the first 4 days this week and down on Friday. The 20 days cycle. The previous 20 days cycle bottoming on July 1st. The last 20 days trading signal was on June 5th, when crossing above his cycle line at 5,300, providing a potential upside target at 54.09. 108 points or 2.04% of potential profit. The next 20 days low is expected for the July 18th, the yellow zone on the chart. The success rate is 91%. Here are the cycle lines for this week and their potential downside target if the S&P 500 cross below them, since the low should form a low on July 18th. The trend cycle is down the first 3 days of this week. The 10 days cycle. The last 10 days cycle occur on July 8th. The next one is expected on July 16th. Technically, the S&P 500 should cross below his cycle line and should provide a potential downside target. Here are the cycle line for this week and their potential target if the S&P 500 crossed below. The success rate is 100%. In conclusion, no matter if the 40-week cycle already formed in April or is still to come, the next cycle will be a 20-week cycle low. And in any case, to trade the S&P 500 on short-term basis, we know with confidence we can safely trade the 80-day cycle and all of the lower time frame. The bull market's still alive. For now there is no sign of bearishness. Just as a reminder, all my videos are for educational purpose only. The analysis are only my personal opinion and they are not in any case a trading advice. If you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future important videos. This is the end of this week's video. Thank you for following me. Next week, I will publish another market update.